Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a very special guest, and that would be Mark Stubbles.
Hello, Keegan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. You are a very rounded person at helping people with their life, correct?
Yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist. I help people overcome anxiety and complex trauma.
Okay. So being a hypnotherapist, what got you into being a hypnotherapist?
My own experiences, I'd always had issues with anxiety.
Okay.
Tried to suppress my anxiety in all kinds of unhelpful ways, all kinds of wrong ways. I was looking outside of myself to feel okay. I got married too young to the wrong person. Had a very difficult divorce, and then we had a lot of court battles. It went on for 5 years, the divorce, and it was very stressful and traumatic experience. And then I was still having relationship issues. So I decided that I needed to work on myself to sort myself out. And that was when I started looking to hypnosis to help me make changes. I tried counseling and talk therapy. I didn't find it very helpful. Hypnosis was the only thing that really helped me. And then after a couple of years feeling better, I still felt kind of lost in my life, not happy in my work. So I started, wondering what I could do. I wanted to do something meaningful, something that helped people. So I decided upon hypnotherapy, and I started training to become a hypnotherapist.
That's awesome. Sorry to hear about the divorce and traumatic experiences, but I'm right there with you. It was not fun. And I have yet to try hypnosis myself. Is it really kind of what everyone thinks hypnosis is, where you hold a little watch in front of someone? Or is it something more along the lines of there's different forms of it, there's different stages, so on and so forth? Because I know it's not a simple one and done kind of thing, but how would you describe your practice to the layman person?
Hypnosis is a focused state of attention. It's not something I do to someone, it's something I do with someone. If you've ever been reading a book, lost track of time, and you finish the book and time had just flown by, you thought, wow, where did all that time go? That's hypnosis. And it doesn't have to be a relaxing state. It's a flow state. If you've ever been playing sports and sustained a small injury, and then when whatever the game you were playing finished, you looked down and you noticed you were bleeding, you had a little cut, and you thought, wow, didn't even notice that. That's hypnosis. So it's a focused state of attention. It's something that everyone experiences several times during the course of a day.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting. I did not know that it was a focused state of mind. So would that, underneath that description, that'd be like someone driving to work and they're like, how did I get here?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. When you drive somewhere, get into a destination and not remember the journey, that's hypnosis. And hypnosis can be very beneficial for people suffering from anxiety for a number of reasons. The main reason or the main two reasons that I give people as to how hypnosis can help them overcome anxiety. Firstly, it can be a very relaxing state. And the more
Mm-hmm.
you take time to relax, the easier it becomes to relax. For a lot of people, grow up with dysfunction and they develop anxiety. And anxiety is a conditioned response through being repeatedly exposed to things that cause you fear. So when
Mm-hmm.
you experience anxiety, you're moving into the fight or flight response, and the symptoms are designed to get you out of a life or death situation. Sweating
Mm-hmm.
enables you to cool down. Any kind of physical activity your mind perceives may be coming in. Your blood gets pumping so you can fight back or run away.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone grows up with dysfunction, the emotional part of their brain actually increases in size. The thinking part of their brain decreases in size, making them more prone to issues with emotional regulation. So
Huh.
by having a regular relaxation practice, you actually start to re-regulate your brain, start to shrink the amygdala, increase the size of your thinking part of your brain, making you less prone to emotional dysregulation. Secondly, your mind can't tell the difference between a real or an imagined event. So just
Mm-hmm.
by imagining yourself the way you want to be, you actually create new neural pathways in your brain. The more you imagine yourself that way, the stronger those pathways become, the more you can start to become that person. Um, and yeah, that's the two main reasons that hypnosis is very helpful to help people overcome anxiety. There are other reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two big ones.
Okay. Wow. So essentially, whenever we go through enough of stressful situations time and time again, it really does do a bigger impact on us than what we really think it does, especially in the moment or later on in life. Um, and so, having our brain not sit there and have the thinking aspect firing properly or more than the other part, how
Mhm.
does uh, I guess that thinking is kind of the analytical brain, right? Kind of going like, um, why is this, or what is the outcome of this, so on and so forth. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say that that's true. And because hypnosis is a focused state of attention, it cultivates mindfulness. Um,
Oh.
and many people identify with their thoughts and their feelings. And we've become shamed out of our thoughts and feelings. You know, society
Mm-hmm.
tells us that there's something wrong with us if we get angry or if we experience anxiety or feelings of sadness, that we've got some kind of disorder. We need to take a pill to feel
Mm-hmm.
better. So when people experience negative feelings and negative thoughts, they try and fight against them. They try and suppress them. They tell themselves, "Oh, there's something wrong with me because I'm feeling this." And the more you do that, what
Mm-hmm.
resists not only persists but becomes stronger. So the more you tell yourself, "I don't want to feel this," the more of that thing you're going to feel. Like if your mind doesn't do negatives. So if you tell yourself, don't feel anxious, your mind needs to recall what anxiety is so that it can
Mm-hmm.
know what you're not trying to feel. So you're going to get more anxiety that way. So,
Wow.
yes.
Huh. So essentially, you can't sit there and be like, I don't want this. You need to be more like, I want the opposite of. Would
Yeah,
that be correct?
absolutely. Focus on the positive, yeah. So if you want to feel less anxious, you'd say, I want to be more confident, or I want to be calm, I want to experience calmness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, focus on what you want, not on what you don't want.
Gotcha. And so, as someone that has suffered from generalized anxiety for years, I know that for myself, I got really upset, and it was really uh, disempowering whenever I would sit there and I'd have moments of clarity and calmness, and I would feel good. But then, next thing I knew, my anxiety would come rushing back.
Hmm.
I didn't know until years later that it takes a lot of time to rewire the brain, essentially. And
It
is
does.
that right?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I would recommend a regular relaxation practice. Um,
Okay.
Many clients come to me and, within 3 to 6 sessions,
Mm-hmm.
they're feeling better.
Uh-huh.
They've started to overcome their anxiety. They've come with PTSD. Usually we can help with that in 3 to 6 sessions, but I would recommend a regular relaxation practice to do something you find relaxing for an hour every day. That could
Okay.
be, listening to calming music,
Mm-hmm.
qigong, yoga, going for a walk, um, and yeah.
Um, and so whenever you say an hour, I'm guessing that's just like an ideal spot, right? You don't want to overdo it, but at the same time, you want to get enough of the neurons firing to where it kind of releases everything, and just kind of like getting a massage. If you massage a spot on your neck for like 5 seconds, it's not going to go away. So an
Hmm.
hour is going to sit there and kind of like get your brain to really relax again. Um, is that
Yeah,
kind of right?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the more you can do, the better, really. But an hour is, like you said, that's the optimum time. You're going to see benefits, you're going to see results, but you're not going to be wasting your life just relaxing. You have to
Because
live.
yeah, we need a little bit of stress in our life. Otherwise, we don't know what the relaxation is, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And we need that fight or flight response, it's designed
Hmm.
to get us out of trouble. Um,
Yeah.
so feeling a little bit anxious now and then, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. There'll be something wrong with you if you never felt anxious.
Yeah.
But yes, it can certainly become very debilitating. I know from my own personal experience, I had a lot of phobia around blushing, very anxious in social
Hmm.
situations. And in the end, I kind of isolated myself. I was working online. Um,
Hmm.
you know, I was doing everything I could to avoid people, which, as I said, that reduced my social circle and got me into the wrong relationships, I think. So anxiety
Hmm.
was a big part of me, you know, overcoming anxiety was a big part of me improving my relationships and
Hmm.
increasing my social circle.
Yeah. Um, and some of those feelings of anxiety, I think, are really prominent nowadays. Probably more so than they used to be. Um, and I think it's because of the social media stuff. We have to portray ourselves a certain way, and but at the same time, we kind of put ourselves in that spot by accepting that that's what everyone else is thinking that we need to accept, that we need to be. It's that weird little vicious cycle. And for me, I'm sure I shared that sentiment about blushing because I just don't blush a little bit. I turn like beet red, and so like I can feel it. And so whenever I blush, it's like, well, I know I'm blushing. Everyone else can see this, and so now everyone knows what I'm thinking, or like maybe they have an idea, and it's something that I had to learn to really let go of. But I know that it works different for everyone whenever it comes to social anxiety. And because my generalized anxiety stemmed from every aspect of like social relations, friendships, all that kind of stuff. And so, for social anxiety, what is one of the things that you would recommend to people that are trying to overcome some of that stuff?
Um, yeah, when you spoke about going beet red, that used to be a big issue for me as well. And I try and fight against it. As I said, you feel it, and then you try and fight against it, and then that makes it worse, and then you become anxious about it happening again, and you become anxious about things that could cause it, and it just builds on itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what that's like. Social anxiety. Have a regular relaxation practice. And it's the kind of people that you associate with as well. I think I was hanging about with very kind of narcissistic people, people who would gossip and, talk about others. And so I became anxious of them talking about me when I wasn't around. And so changing my social circle was
Mm.
a big move, and probably one of the biggest steps in me overcoming anxiety in general. Having more supportive friends, a more supportive friend network was very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, just when you change, there's a thing called systems theory. It says when you change one part of the system, you change
Mm-hmm.
all parts of the system. So if
Uh-huh.
you are anxious in social situations, you would take on a kind of a low kind of value posture. You'd be hunched over, protecting your vital organs,
Uh-huh.
trying not to attract attention to yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
by opening up your chest, you know, having your head up, keeping your shoulders back, you're telling your mind that there is no danger. I'm not, there is no immediate threat here. And so that will quickly start to reduce. Also, stand confidently, stand tall. Um, and I used to be very worried with what, as I said, people thought of me. I find that when I'm talking to people socially, I focus on the person I'm talking to. Give them my full attention, and then that takes my attention, or for me, that takes me out of my head, and it channels my focus into the
Mm-hmm.
person I'm talking to. And yeah, as when I talk from my stomach like I am now. Again, doing that, it shows more confidence, and when you show confidence, you'll start to feel confident.
Hmm.
And people will react to you differently, and that will create a feedback loop that will reinforce the confidence.
Huh. So, does that kind of go along with the lines of "fake it till you make it"? Um,
Make it till you make it. Yeah, there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth and a lot of benefit in that.
it's really interesting how that works. And so obviously, it's one of those. It doesn't. it's not second nature after you do it just a couple of times. It's second nature after you repeat it and again and again and again. But it is interesting for me personally because whenever I notice my body language and am mindful about it and I change it, I feel the effect almost maybe not immediately, but I feel the onset of it. Do you think that that's normal for people to start to have a noticeable change in the way that they're feeling simply by changing their body language?
Absolutely, yeah. And studies have actually shown that by changing your body language, by changing your posture, you're going to release confidence boosting hormones. You're going to release more testosterone and, things that make you feel confident. So, yes, absolutely. Um,
Huh.
it can, you can very quickly notice benefits from it.
That's really cool. And so that just like you said, it creates that feedback loop to where you start to feel it, and then you get it received back from the way you're projecting yourself, and then it just bolsters that. And so, what do you think takes the longest to rewire your body and the way that your body language is, or more of the mindset of how you're feeling? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, I think it is identity. It requires an identity shift. Um,
Okay.
as I said, when I started healing, started getting better, I completely changed my friends. I mean, I only had like two friends before, but when I started getting better, I completely changed the people I associate with. And by doing that, I'm meeting new people who've never seen me, you know, in an anxious or unconfident light. They've only seen me as confident and calm. So
Uh huh.
again, that creates that feedback loop and it builds from there.
Interesting. Um, I do like how you mentioned that you made new social friends, a new social circle that knew your new identity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that way you don't really have that reference point always sitting there going like, "Hey, don't forget you used to be anxious." Every time you see someone. So, uh, go ahead.
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if you don't have supportive friends and family, because they will try and drag you back down. They will, you know, say things to, oh, remember the time when you went here and like you started blushing and everyone laughed at you. Like they will reinforce um, the identity. So you need to really break free from
mhm.
those kinds of people.
And for some people, that is incredibly difficult, especially because you brought up family. I
Mhm.
know a lot of people will say, well, they're family, so I can't just cut them off. And I'm a firm believer that, yeah, you can. It may be hard and difficult because they're your family, because you've known them for so long. But if they're not supportive of you, if they're toxic, then they don't need to have access to you. You have access to whoever you choose, and you choose who has access to you. Right? And so,
Absolutely.
whenever, uh, but I know that it's hard for people to cut ties with family or really close friends. And it sucks that, like you said, they'll try to bring you back down. Um,
Hmm.
so, what are some techniques or some practices that people can do to start to? Because surely you don't want to go cold turkey on someone necessarily, or maybe you do. I guess it really just depends on the person and the situation. But how do you distance yourself from that social circle of those people so that you can get new people in better positions? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, You can choose who your friends are, but you can't choose your family. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because I don't want to say people should cut off their family, you know, move
But if
on.
they're,
But it depends on the person. For me
mm-hmm.
personally, I did I did a lot of inner child work. Um, I did a lot of going back to childhood. As children, we need what are known as good enough parents. They provide unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. The child's going to know that they're going to get their needs met no matter what. Um, And if we don't have good enough parents, we develop toxic shame. Inner child
Mm-hmm.
work is about becoming a good enough parent to yourself and releasing that toxic shame. So through inner child work, I was able to feel okay in myself, to not need to look outside of myself for validation and to feel okay. I also became more able to defend myself and develop stronger boundaries. And you know, if friends are good friends, um, when you start developing boundaries, when you start sticking up for yourself more, then they'll respect that. And those are the kinds of people, and family, those are the kinds of people that you want to have around. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have family who try emotionally blackmailing you, like my grandmother used to say, "Oh, I never raised you to be like this, all the things I've done for you, blah, blah, blah." That's, a sign that that's a toxic person. And family or not, you need to cut them out of your life because, as I said, they're just going to drag you down. They don't
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about you. They want to keep you stuck. Maybe because of their own codependency and fear of abandonment. They want to, if it's, you know, a parent or a grandparent, they want to infantilize you so that you don't, leave them. I think that was the case with my grandmother. But yeah, you need to be able to move away from that, to break away from
Yeah. Okay. And so whenever you talk about having that codependency or that what was it, infant,
that. Infantilize, yeah.
yeah. Do you think that that's kind of along the saying of people want to remember the version of you they had the most power over? Um, because I kind of think that that's kind of true in some cases. Whenever I was getting better, I had to tell myself these people keep reminding me of my past, and it's because they wanted to remember the me that they had more power over. So,
Absolutely. In some cases, yeah, not in all cases. As I said, some people will
mhm.
be supportive and they will support you in making changes. Um, but some people won't. And yeah,
And you can only know after you start changing yourself for the better. So it's kind of like dipping your toe in the water, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I didn't, like I say, my grandmother used to emotionally blackmail me and say all kinds of things, and I didn't recognize that as emotional blackmail until maybe like 3 or 4 years um,
Mm.
into healing and doing inner child work that I started to see that for what it was.
Hmm. And so, whenever you talk about inner child work, I think that that's something that's becoming popular
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, and maybe not popular, but actually more well known. And that's something that I've always thought is a really interesting concept, and it's actually helped me a lot. And I know I have a long way to go on it. I don't think I'll ever really be done with it, but
Mm-hmm.
what is your experience with inner child work? Because you put it in a way that I haven't heard before, and that was becoming the parent for yourself,
Mhm.
um, and releasing that toxic shame. So, can you walk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, like hypnosis, there's a lot of misconceptions about what inner child work is. Inner child work isn't about recalling negative memories. It's not about blaming parents. Um, as you start to heal, memories will start to come up. As you start, I mean, the theory of repression says that when a memory is too emotionally painful to deal with, we repress. So as you start to be able to handle negative emotions and negative memories, memories may start to come up, but that is not
Mm-hmm.
what inner child work is about. Inner child work is about accepting. It's, as I said, not about blaming. If anything, it's about understanding, because most people will parent the way they were parented. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Most parents carry their own toxic shame, and their children are easy targets for that toxic shame.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they project it. And it's a cycle, it's generational trauma. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if you grow up with toxic parents, you won't know. You don't know that that behaviour is toxic. It's just normal for you. It's all you've ever known. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to treat your own kids. Um, so inner child work is about recognizing that. It's about accepting that, and releasing the toxic shame. Seeing that the toxic shame isn't yours. That is being projected onto you by an insecure parent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when we grow up in an environment where we're constantly being attacked, put down, called names, we're going to internalize that. It's going to create an inner critic that's going to continue to attack us and put us down the same way throughout our lives. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so inner child work is about externalizing that. And again, with hypnosis, a regular relaxation practice, you're going to start to be able to externalize that stuff, to see it as separate from yourself. Um, and you can develop the inner critic if you spend a long time in an abusive relationship as an adult. As a child, you're most susceptible to it because that is when your neuroplasticity is at its highest. That is
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking to your parents to help you understand the world and understand yourself. So if they're calling you names, putting you down, you're going to take that as the truth. Um, so inner child work is about, as I say, externalizing that stuff. It's about becoming a good enough parent to yourself, giving yourself unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, um, and yeah, using hypnosis, because the mind can't tell the difference between a real or an imagined event. We can
Mm-hmm.
use hypnosis to visualize connecting with the inner child, um, embracing the inner child, keeping the inner child safe. Um, and yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it really does. That's really interesting. By externalizing it, then we get to heal it. Um, and that's an excellent way to look at it, because if we always keep it on the inside, it's kind of always just on the inside. Um, and it's, I guess it would be one way to actually see the work being done too, to help
Mhm.
validate that you're getting it done, you're making progress, and that makes people want to do more. Um, So, whenever it comes to
Absolutely.
hypnosis, what all can hypnosis be used for? Inner child work, anxiety. I'm assuming basically any mental ailment, right?
Hmm. Yeah, inner child work can be used for pretty much anything.
Uh huh.
Or, sorry, hypnosis can be used for pretty much anything. I believe that most problems have their root in childhood, um,
Okay.
and it's, I don't know if you've ever read any of John Bradshaw's books or heard of John Bradshaw, but he
Mm-hmm.
believed that physical ailments were caused by toxic shame as well. That even cancer is caused by toxic shame, um, and
Hmm.
so did the lady Hay House. I've forgotten her name. She also believed that. She actually wrote a book detailing different pain in different parts of the body is related to
Mm-hmm.
different types of trauma. So in a hypnosis can help with anxiety, depression. It's very, very successful when it comes to PTSD. I've helped
Okay.
a lot of clients suffering from PTSD um, because your emotional state when you recall a memory
Mm-hmm.
actually has an impact on that memory. So if you, this is one of the criticisms of counselling when it comes to PTSD. If you
Mm-hmm.
keep recalling a negative memory and you're getting upset, you're getting uh, worked up, that is
Mm-hmm.
re-embedding the the memory. That is increasing the negative associations with that memory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hypnosis, I use techniques which means the person doesn't even have to recall the activating event to overcome
Mm-hmm.
PTSD. I use what's called double dissociation. So the person is watching themselves, watching um, an old event play out on a fuzzy old TV screen off in the distance. So
Huh.
they don't actually relive the event, and that is very successful in helping
Huh.
people to overcome PTSD. Weight loss, food is the most common substance that people use to try and suppress their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
As we've already said, everyone becomes shamed out of their emotions in childhood. So inner
Mm-hmm.
child work is a very successful in helping
Uh-huh.
people to lose weight. Um, Hypnosis can be used as a standalone for weight loss as well. You don't have to do the inner child work, but usually being overweight has its roots in childhood. So um, inner child work is usually going to help someone with that. Um, and yeah, like, yeah, there's many things. Even, as I said, even physical ailments.
Mm-hmm.
John Bradshaw said that inner child work can help with them. Hypnosis can certainly help to reduce pain. If
Mm-hmm.
someone has been to see a doctor and they've told them the issue's psychosomatic, or they've done whatever they can, and they
Mm-hmm.
they just come for pain relief, I would be um, glad to use hypnosis to help a person reduce pain. And I've
Mm-hmm.
helped people who suffered from chronic migraines for like 20 years to instantly lose those migraines. So, yeah, there's not much that hypnosis can't help with.
Um, and so with that being such a wide range of things, I'm sure you've had to deal with substance use or addiction, because food is kind of an addiction almost for some people at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
So have you helped with like alcoholism and stuff like that before?
Not really, no, because I mean, cigarette smoking,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Um, Weed smoking once or twice, but actual alcoholism, substance abuse, they they can cause very severe withdrawal symptoms. Um, so
Oh
if
wow.
someone came to me with those issues, um, I would I would tell them that they need to speak to their doctor and get a plan to
Mm-hmm.
gradually wean off the substances, um, as opposed to just stop them
Cool.
overnight.
Yeah. And that's actually really good because I know withdrawals are can be lethal, especially with alcohol. And
Absolutely,
so uh, that would be not good to have happen in the office. um,
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Even if someone is on antidepressants, I would always advise them to speak to their doctor
mhm.
before they start taking them. I've never, uh, I've had clients before who've stopped taking their antidepressants, and yeah, I've said,
Oh
oh no,
no.
um, but yeah, they were fine, but I would never. If someone told me that that's what they were planning to do, I would say
Hmm.
speak to your doctor first.
Yeah. Uh, and that's really handy because I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't really think about that because I wouldn't have. So whenever we're dealing with the mind, it's a whole lot more powerful than what we usually give it credit for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm really understanding this, because you're saying with hypnosis, you can help with overeating, you can help with pain, you can help with uh, cigarette smoking, weed
Mm-hmm.
smoking on the rare occasion,
Mm-hmm.
and all this. And a lot of people, like you said before, too, is that we've been conditioned in the society that, oh, we're not feeling this, or we're feeling different, or we're being different, so we need to go take a pill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, those kind of things are like a weird band-aid, like, and that's, you're not treating what the actual thing is, you're putting a band-aid on top of it. And so what you're doing is more or less actually treating the wound itself. um, you're not putting a band-aid on, you're taking the band-aid off and like suturing it up, saying, all right, let's make it better. um, it,
Absolutely, yeah. Medication is only treating the symptoms most of the
mm-hmm,
time. It's not treating the root cause of the issue, and I think that yeah, it's a uh, big problem with society is that people, look at medication for kind of long-term um, symptom reduction, and
mm-hmm,
they just have to keeping keep increasing the dose, and cause all kinds of issues. And again,
mm-hmm,
that comes from the inner child. That comes from people looking outside of themselves to feel okay,
mm.
learned helplessness. Um, so many aspects to that inner child healing could help.
Oh man, uh, that is not one that I would have put onto the inner child work. That's interesting. Um, oh man. Uh, so uh, what mental illnesses do you think can't really be helped with hypnosis? Um, it's kind of hard to say. Or do you think all of them have some kind of benefit to it? Because I know for me, I'm bipolar, and so I get told I have to be on my mood stabilizers probably for the rest of my life. And I'm kind of like, I don't think I need to, but it's one of those
Mhm.
like, am I being tricked into it, or maybe there's some actual neurochemical imbalance that's physical that maybe if I exercise, it can replace um, a medicine, or maybe it's some kind of inner work that I need to do that will help create a certain balance. So would hypnosis help someone with bipolar, perhaps?
I don't think I've ever had a client that has bipolar,
Uh huh.
so I couldn't tell you. But when I work with a client, I work with the person as opposed to the condition. Um,
Oh.
Again, usually conditions are just, they're just a list of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so hypnosis can help with the symptoms. Hypnosis can help with anxiety. It can help with depression. Um, and I don't want to say hypnosis can help with psychosis, but mindfulness can help with psychosis. And as I said, hypnosis can help to improve mindfulness. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it completely depending on the person. I've had clients who come to me and maybe they've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, um, and I've helped them, drastically
Mm-hmm.
decrease their symptoms, drastically get better. And then I've had other clients come to me who haven't been diagnosed with anything, um, and they've been a complete, nightmare. And I've had to, tell them I don't think that I can help you after one or
Mm-hmm.
two sessions. So
Mm-hmm.
it depends entirely on the client.
Mm.
Just because someone has been diagnosed with something, I don't think that, that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that they're too ill to ever
Uh-huh.
get better.
Yeah, so you're not looking at the symptoms, you're not looking at diagnosis, you're looking at the person as a whole as they are and trying to help them become more whole and healed. Um, which is awesome.
Absolutely, yes, yeah,
Uh
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I always work with the person that's in front of me, not with the labels that they've been given.
And I think that that is one of the things that a lot of people need to take less stock in. Um,
Mhm.
because I know for myself, I don't place my identity in my diagnosis. Um, but that's the thing is that so many people do. Uh, and I think that that kind of anchors them into that feeling or that symptom of whatever they're feeling that they do have this. Whenever really it's something that can be addressed and actually taken care of. But if it's a part of you, and you're like, if I were to say, I always have this, then it's not something I'm willing to let go of because it's part of who I am. I'm now suddenly scared that it may leave me one day, right? And then what do I do with that part of me that I don't know?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about identity. When someone
Mm-hmm.
is diagnosed with something, that can become their identity. Um, and again, learned helplessness. People can, when you grow up in an environment where you learn that there's nothing that you can do to avoid abuse, or, even society, when you grow up in society and you learn that, you know, you need to look to your seniors for instructions and whatever, then you develop a state of learned helplessness. Yeah, it can be, again, an authority figure is giving you a label, and then that becomes your identity, and you learn that you're never going to break free from that label. Makes it more difficult.
Okay. Learned helplessness. That is something that I'm going to have to look into a little bit more myself. Because that sounds like a lot of things can actually stem from that. And I don't even recognize it. So,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
see.
learned helplessness is caused by repeatedly being exposed to traumatic situations that you can't escape.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
it's kind of like developing anxiety or something. It's that repeated action or that repeated situation. So like a child being lost in a mall, for example, like that's going to be highly anxiety driven. But at the same time, you have these adults that might be able to help you find your parents, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you're a child, getting lost in the mall could be a life-threatening experience. So, yeah, that would be no one makes it out of childhood without experiencing some kind of trauma. Everyone gets shamed out of their emotions to a large degree. And yeah, when you're growing up in an environment, in a society where you learn that there's nothing that you can do to, escape, you stop trying. It's like a horse. I've heard that they train a horse when it's a little foal. They stick a stick in the ground, and it runs around in circles with the stick. When it becomes bigger, it could easily pull that stick out of the ground, but because it learned that it couldn't when it was younger, it doesn't try it. So it's still secured with that same little stick. That's a good explanation for learned helplessness, I think.
Okay, that is really interesting. I wasn't aware of that, but I can definitely see that because I've heard it put as the flea put in a jar with the lid. It can way jump past it, but if you have that lid on after a while, it's not going to jump past that lid because it thinks it can't go any further.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's another good example. Yes.
Okay. Well, we are near the top of the hour. Would you like to give yourself a shout out to the wonderful people listening and watching about any website you have or social media that they can find you on? Try to get scheduled hypnosis or anything?
People can find me via my website, anxietyhypnotherapist.org. I'm on YouTube. My name is Mark Stubbles. And I have a Facebook group called Inner Child Healing, Breaking Free from CPTSD.
Awesome. I'll make sure to post all those in the episode description and everything, so anyone listening can go and find your stuff. Because we all need to work on our anxiety and inner child healing. Because I know I definitely got a lot of work to do. So.
Absolutely. As I said, I believe everyone could benefit from inner child healing.
Well, it has been absolutely amazing talking to you, Mark, and I can't wait until uh, we see what the future holds. And I do have, I like to try to get a guest on to the podcast more than once, because you
Hmm.
never know what happens from point A to point B. I love to
Hmm.
hear the different perspectives, the gained knowledge, just catch up on life, even, so, can we expect to see you back on the show at some point?
Absolutely. I would be glad to come back, Keegan. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. And again, I thank you very much for your time, and I just wish nothing but the best for you. And can't wait to see you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you very much. And you have a wonderful day, okay? Or I guess it's evening
And
over
you
there,
too.
right?
Yeah, it's evening time. It's yeah, pretty late here.
All right. Well, sorry to keep you up. You have a good evening, sir.
No problem, Keegan. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes,
Bye.
sir. John.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.